Yes, hi there. These comments are for romance. I love that name there. That is, and then you have in the middle, John Bin Chen. Okay, so you have some questions about reading. You're one of my students, and I'm going to answer this question in a video because it's a little bit too complicated to write it all out. It would take me hundreds and hundreds of words. So I hope you don't mind. Okay, so in terms of your question, let's take a look at what you said in the email. I'll try to answer it bit by bit. So here's my reading problem, Michael. In your lessons, you always tell us that reading extensively and try to read faster and try to use some guessing strategies to understand the unknown word from the context. Don't you think that you don't need to write it down in the notebook? If I read English materials in this way, I will possibly forget the new vocabulary the next day. I would like to try to read faster and remember the new vocabulary easily. What should I do? Okay, my answer is you do not need to write it down in a notebook. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to get you to do here. The purpose of extensive reading is called word recognition, not word definition. You do not need to know all the words that you are reading as you read magazines and newspapers. So the main thing is that you get your brain used to reading for longer periods of time. Now, think of it this way. If the average vocabulary base of most college students is less than about 3,000 words, right? And it is, that's a fact. Now, let's say that you read different books, and each month you read 3 or 4 different books. Let's say each book is 300 pages long. Let's say each book has 250 words on a page. Essentially, you're reading thousands of pages, right? You're reading a lot of hundreds and hundreds and thousands of pages each month. And what happens is, if you consider that the average vocabulary base is about maybe between 1,500 and 3,000 words. What it means, romance, is you will see those same words repeated over and over and over. That's what your brain needs to see. Your brain doesn't need to see exactly what the definition is. So when you're reading extensively, I don't think you need to write the words down that you don't know. That's my advice. That's what I would think. The next thing you say, I have been doing this for a little while since I was reading English newspaper. I wrote a little bit of the paragraph on the notebook. See, again, if you write down the words you don't know, romance, you're ruining your reading speed. The whole purpose is to try to read faster and to try to understand the main ideas, not every single thing in the reading passage. So if you slow down your reading speed, you slow down your comprehension because you have more distractions. Slower readers have more distractions. Faster readers have fewer distractions. Did you know that? That's why faster readers understand more, because they can remember more, because their brain's not distracted as much. Okay, so let's keep going with your question. You say, this is one of the sections I wrote it down a few days ago. Until now, I don't even look up the word in the dictionary honestly, but I can guess what frailty means by the next sentence. Yet to be able to complete them, it means not finished yet. So frailty could mean mistake. Do you think this is a good method to study English in this way, or do you think I don't need to do it in this way if I can comprehend the materials that I'm reading? We're all human beings. We're not computers that we can remember how to spell a word accurately. I know as an English learner has to read faster in order to know more, but it's also important to write well. Fine. Okay, let me go back to this question. So now we're getting into a different question. You're first asking me about reading and reading extensively, and I'm saying that when you're reading extensively, don't write down all the words you don't know. The whole purpose there is to just spend time reading in the new language, and like you said, use the context to understand the meanings of those words you don't know. Now, if you want to practice writing now, that's a whole different story. Here's my advice there. If you're interested in practicing your writing skills, and specifically your integrated writing skills, here's my suggestion. Romance. You can take a reading passage that's maybe 500 words, read it, take some notes. Write down what you think the main points are of that reading passage. And then, using your notes, write a summary of that reading passage. Now, a summary, Romance, means use your own vocabulary, use your own grammar as you summarize that information. Now, that would be very good writing practice, and especially good practice for the integrated writing task of the TOEFL iBT. So that would be my advice there. Now, you can also practice your writing with lectures. Okay, let's say that you're bored and you're watching TV at night and you're watching a news channel. And maybe the news channel has a 30-minute documentary about, let's say, the Afghanistan war or the Iraq war, or maybe it's talking about the problem with a nuclear reactor in Japan or something. You know, whatever, it doesn't matter. Now, what you do is, as you're watching the show, take notes. Try to identify the purpose or the main point of the lecture, and then try to identify what you think are the most important supporting points. And then, Romance, using your notes, practice writing a summary. Now, that would be great writing practice, and also it's good listening practice. So that's kind of a whole nother kind of area. So if you want to practice writing, I would, take some of my advice and think about how you can practice your integrated writing skills. I think that would be a very good thing to do to help you think more deeply and to help you prepare more for the integrated either speaking or the integrated writing tasks of the TOEFL iBT. Now, if you want to practice speaking, you can do the same thing. You can read the passage, take some notes. You can listen to a lecture and then take some notes. And then using your notes, you can orally summarize that information. Orally means by speaking. You see what I'm saying? Okay, let's go back to the next part of your question here. Let me go check, make sure I'm not going too long in the video here. Okay, so in the YouTube video, we have here, it says, what is your best way to handle this reading problem? What kinds of situations do you think you need to look up in the dictionary? I would say, for the most part, my advice would be, is generally you don't need to worry about looking up words in a dictionary, usually. The only time I would recommend that is, let's say you're in you're reading a college textbook or something, and there's this one term that the book is repeating several times, and for some reason you're unable to use the context to help you understand the meaning of that word, and then maybe you see the word repeated several times, and then finally you get frustrated, and then maybe you will look up the word in the dictionary. But like I said before, be careful, because once you stop reading, your reading speed goes to 0. And then you're not remembering. You'll begin to forget what you just read 2 or 3 seconds or 30 or 40 seconds before that. So the main thing is to not slow down your reading speed if possible, which is why I typically don't recommend that you look up words in a dictionary. Alrighty, anyway, these are just my 2 cents, and remember that for you, you have to develop your effective reading strategies and effective reading methods that you think work best for you, and I'm just giving you some basic suggestions. Now remember, if you want to study vocabulary, you don't really need to worry about writing down the words that you see in the reading passages that you see. Remember, in my vocabulary part of my course, I actually have 1,700 words, and I took those words from academic passages. I've already found the words you need to know, Romance. So what you want to do is just learn those words, and I do recommend the vocabulary words that you see in my step 1 of my 7-step system to pass the TOEFL iBT. I really do recommend that you write down those words on maybe note cards. You can put maybe the definition on one side, you can put the sentence and the vocabulary, maybe a sample sentence and the meaning, and synonyms and antonyms on the other. So for step one of my vocabulary part of the course, yes, write all those words down on note cards and study those. And you know what? The words that you're writing down from the English newspapers, they're going to be the same words you see on that list. They won't be that different, right? So if you learn the words on my list, you'll recognize the words that you're reading in English newspapers, in magazines, in books, and on the TOEFL. All right? Anyway, thank you for contacting me, and I hope I've answered your question, and all the best to your high-scoring TOEFL success.